Here we are, everybody. How the heck are you doing this fine day? Steve Dotto here, along with April,
Hi,
and
everybody.
we are we're doing Gray Matters Unscripted. We're sort of scripted. We call it unscripted, but we have stuff that we want to cover today. We're going to be talking to you about video conferencing blowing up. It's going to be our main topic. Every week we're doing this live stream. We're welcoming the gray zone community, specifically designed for the Boom X generation. Those of you that have a touch of gray. Remember that TV commercial with a touch of gray?
Me too.
I like
Yeah,
to
I'm going to wash that gray out of my hair.
Yeah, I'm going to wash that gray right out of my hair. That's right. You know what musical that's from?
No.
That's from South Pacific. Nellie Forbush sings that song. I'm going to wash.
I've actually never seen that. I'll have to check it out.
I toured with South Pacific. I toured to Newfoundland.
You did?
South Pacific. Yes, I did. Yes,
You're so talented.
I am. It's just awesome. It's just awesome. So how's everybody doing? Hi there, Tara, and hi, Ellen. How are you doing? Dave Guthrow. It's awesome under the circumstances. Yeah, it's every single thing we do gets clouded to a certain extent under the just with the it's like there's a disquiet filter. That's a way to put it. There's a disquiet filter on my entire life right now. Is everything looks normal, everything feels normal-ish, but there's this profound sense of disquiet that pervades. And I always try and filter everything through. I'm watching TV now, and I'm watching normal interaction between people, like two actors getting close together, standing close together. And I'm saying, give them space. Give them space.
I know. It's funny because the postman came today and they were knocking at the door, and I was like, why are they knocking at the door? And we got a package that required a signature, but they're not doing signatures. He's like, I just need to verify that you saw that I dropped it off and I'm signing for you, because my initial was like, I'm not opening the door.
Yeah. That's right. That's exactly the way it's going. My car insurance is due. The people called me. They always had this kind of delivery service, and they just called and they said, what do they? They said we're doing all by email now. ICBC's, which is our insurance corporation, is letting us do it by email. So, David, if you've got no sound, I think it's probably on your side. Everybody else can hear us, so there could be an issue. Oh, it's good now. Got it. Good now. Got it. Okay, good to hear. Good to hear. Yeah. So what was I? You were
talking about your insurance agent and how.
Yeah. So it's all just done by electronic signature, which is the way it should be. But they're just kind of scrambling to kind of catch up and to do it all. So once again, we don't want to make this all about that. We don't want to make our live stream just about the virus, but we recognize that it's that disquiet filter is something that we're all probably viewing life through right now. So obviously we will pay some lip service to it as we go through. But today's topic is I'll deal with that in a minute. Today's topic is how is video conferencing is blowing up, and what prompted that is we posted a couple of videos on it, and those videos are indeed blowing up all on their own. They have just gone crazy. One of our videos has, how many views does it got right now?
The first one, actually, the Zoom Basics, has over 170,000 views. It's like, I think, our most watched video, right? Ever?
For the not most watched overall, but in the time frame, yeah. It was getting, like, a typical video that we post on YouTube will get, in the first 7 days, it'll get between 6,000 and 15,000 views. This video has been getting well over 1,000 an hour for its entire life, and in some hours it's been getting 2,000 and 2,500 views. So it's just crazy. It's just gone absolutely nuts. Let me just grab an invite link here. I'm just going to just send it because for some reason our guest that we're having coming in later is having an issue. Let me just pop this over here. You can entertain the crowd then while I'm doing this.
All right. So it's fun. We have lots of different friends on today. We have Al and David Glory and Chris and some familiar friends. I know some of you have been were on our live that we did 2 weeks ago with Mark Schaefer. And we'll get the corona stuff out of the way, but please keep him in your thoughts and prayers. We found out that he is positive for corona. His wife actually had it, and she's recovered, but he's just kind of in the beginning stages. He got tested yesterday. He wasn't feeling well, had symptoms, and it's confirmed, and he's kind of gone dark for a while he fights this, and hopefully his symptoms will be mild.
Yeah. So we were going to be keeping our eye on him. So Mark was doing a daily live stream, and he did one of our first of these Gray Matters Unscripted, and just gave us some great feedback. And actually, the interview with him is in Gray Matters, the podcast, is a great interview, as he really has been he's shown a lot of leadership. Dave Guthrie, one of our old Apple buddies here, he says, I've got a Zoom call with 50 Apple employees from the 1980s. I imagine so. That's very cool. Chris saying this, if you can't hear, turn off the disquiet filter. Yes, indeed. That is for sure. Let me just, there we go. I've got people saying hello from all over the planet. That is all good stuff. All right. So video conferencing is just blowing up. So the videos that we've been posting on it, we've primarily done Zoom. Be interesting to see if you let me know in comments if Zoom is the one that you're using, or if you're looking for other options, or maybe what video conferencing platform you prefer. I'd be fascinated to see which ones work for you. There's been a lot of press about Zoom, and I'm wondering if it's coloring all of your opinion about it. There's some end-to-end encryption issues where people still feel that that it's not as secure as other platforms, which I personally don't think is too big a deal. I think there are some instances where that end-to-end encrypted security is very important. For example, if you are a doctor doing an interview with a patient, and adding that extra level of privacy if you're doing some sort of telemedicine application, but the biggest issue that I see happening is this Zoom bombing that's going on. Have you followed this, April?
I did. I sent you one last night.
Yes.
I sent you one last night. They're kind of all over the place. And you know what? Before I don't know if you saw Zoom put out a message to their users.
I've been running like crazy all morning.
Yeah, they put out a message, and they addressed the security issue. They took accountability and basically said that they're working on it, which I think was, it was admirable. They were taking accountability for what's going on and letting people know that they're fixing it, because then, clearly people are using it to a huge extent.
Oh, and I've got to give them just props. They've experienced, I don't know what X, but it's a big number X growth in traffic in the past 10 days. And we haven't noticed any degradation in service. It's because we use Zoom so many times a day, multiple times a day. And sorry, do you need me, Shan? I was just my wife my wife's a teacher, and they just got a text about Zoom. What does it say?
Well, and even when you go to log into Zoom, right at the top of the software, there's a message that says about using HD and kind of bandwidth. So being mindful of certain
reducing the bandwidth. And actually, we shared a video. Today's video that we posted on it, I talk about using your video options and the video filters within Zoom. And one of the things I say is you're going to want to think twice about using the HD version of it, because of bandwidth issues. It's just, and a lot of people will just be turning off their video and just using it as an audio conference. If you don't need to be seen during the meeting, you might consider turning it off. And there's other reasons that you might consider turning it off.
Liz is always conscious of that. She's always her bandwidth. She never wants to turn her camera on.
Our Liz, who works for us, she just doesn't like to be seen. She doesn't like to bother. She just doesn't want us to see her. She just wants her privacy. So
I don't know if she's on. We're just giving her a hard time.
So I guess as far as the Zoom bombing goes, there's a couple of different lessons that we can learn from, and a couple things we can use. So those of you who use Zoom a lot,
I would say most of them are using Zoom.
Sorry?
In the chat, to answer your question, you asked, and I would say 85% is using Zoom.
Because it's so freaking reliable.
Yeah.
And we've gotten used to that, and it's more flexible. Skype is okay, but it's got limitations. There's other tools like Whereby, they've all got limitations. Google Hangouts, it just feels clunky compared to Zoom. You just don't feel like you have the same, it doesn't feel as professional as Zoom. And they've got all of these different management tools for sharing, and they've designed for meetings. It's designed for the ground up as a meeting tool. So that's why it works from that perspective. But the challenge that I think a lot of us have with Zoom is the controls live in two places. When you're in a Zoom meeting, you've got your controls, but then you actually have to go in the web browser to kind of set overall parameters for the meeting. And that's, I think, where a lot of people kind of slip up, is they don't go into those parameters and set up the parameters for the meeting, including things like having a waiting room. What a waiting room will give you is when people come into a call, they can see what's happening in the call, but they can't participate in the call until a moderator lets them in. That's one way that you can gate your meeting and make sure that unwanted people don't end up in the call. It makes it a bit of a hassle for the moderator if you're presenting content and then you've got people in the waiting room that you have to admit, but recognize that they can still see what's going on. They just can't participate at that point there. That's an important fact, and Zoom doesn't do a good job of explaining that to us. So that's a great way of helping to control your meeting. I think that's vastly preferable to the need to put in a password, which, as you all know, will create all sorts of nightmarish situations. Another thing that is sadly slipping by the wayside because of the attention that's being delivered to Zoom is the ability for somebody to use their own personal Zoom room and just keep it open as kind of like a waiting room or as an open office situation. Because once that URL is shared, it's a persistent URL. It gets out there, then anybody can use your Zoom room and they can come in and bomb, and they can do it. Oh, Richard is asking, I'm an old geezer and I haven't got a clue what bombing means. Well, allow us to explain it to you then, Richard. And I'll use an example. We were in a call. A friend of ours from the social media world was having doing a live stream the other day, and and now when you use Zoom, you can gate it. You can take that Zoom call and you can broadcast it to YouTube Live and a Facebook Live, so you can make it a public broadcast as well as a private meeting, and it works great from that perspective. So, he was having a call, and he wanted to have a bunch of social media types talking about the impact of just how we're dealing with the situation. So it was very topical, and he posted it on Facebook. It was posting it on the stream on Facebook, and he had a few people in the Zoom call. And he said, if anybody wants to jump into the Zoom call so they can be broadcast and can be in the conversation, here's the link. Well, as soon as he posts the link, it's out there in the wild. And he had it so anybody could jump into the room. And of course, what immediately happened is a couple of yahoos jumped in the room. And I don't mean people that work for Yahoo. Yahoo is the term that my dad used for years for bozos. A couple of young people, and I know they're young because we could tell they were young as they were yelling into racial epitaphs into the microphones, jumped in the room and disrupted the call completely. One was insult. They were in chat insulting members of the room. They were leaning into their microphone and screaming into it so that their audio was overriding everybody's. And another young man took and waved a handgun in front of the camera, then turned around and pulled his pants down. And we laugh, and it seems puerile and humorous. But first of all, it throws some people off if it happens. So there's that's a part of it.
Right.
But there are a lot of times when these Zoom calls, when we're using Zoom for things which carry a little bit more weight than us just having a social conversation, or like our live stream right now. If somebody disrupted this, it's not the end of the world. But there are master students who are doing the defense of their dissertations live in a call like this now, where the culmination of 7 years of university is and of all their work, and they are under tremendous stress, and they're presenting. There are doctors that are having consultations. There are people that are, who knows what social interactions are happening with us having to have this different distancing. And somebody jumps into a call that's an intense personal family call, and they disrupt it. It could be really hurtful. So it's certainly not just a humorous practice where somebody jumps into a call like this, which would be very funny if somebody was to interrupt right now. At least I would laugh, and we would restart things, and it would be an experience that we all kind of laughed about in the future.
Right.
But there's also a lot of serious aspects to it where it can be incredibly damaging. So defending yourself and protecting yourself against it, I think, is going to be de rigueur. It's sad, but now we have to start protecting it. So you can't use your private rooms, your personal rooms anymore. You can't just keep those rooms open. You, in some cases, have to use passwords. Having a series of calls where you have the same URL might not be a good idea anymore, because every cycle that you go through, there's a chance that somebody could share it. It could end up out in the wild. Possibly using passwords. Definitely using a waiting room to bring people in. Those are all things that we're going to have to start doing now. With Zoom, in order to protect ourselves, in order to protect the people that are in the room, sadly. So yeah.
So you got some questions here. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, sure.
Somebody asked, GL asked, do I need to upgrade to Pro version to have a co-host, a split screen for Zoom?
Well, this isn't Zoom right now that we're using. So just so you know, I don't think, and somebody can correct me on this. Actually, I had a question on this on the YouTube channel. I don't think that the host can determine the physical orientation of the screen that for participants, because we all have a gallery view where we can go over the gallery view and we can see everybody, or a film strip view where you see a strip of people along the top and the active speaker is promoted into a larger screen. I don't think there's a way to force like in a webinar package or in a live streaming package like we're doing right now, the multiple hosts that are on screen, and then have everybody else and be able to force it like that. That's more of a webinar or a live streaming tool rather than a Zoom tool. And remember, the philosophy of Zoom is not as a presentation package, but it's as a meeting package. So that's why the film strip mode is, or the gallery mode is the one that we most like to use, where you can see everybody's face at the same time, and you can see it. So I don't think I don't think it matters what version of Zoom you have. Where you would be able to do that is if you purchase Zoom webinars, but that has far less interaction from the community. That's designed as a webinar package. So I'm sure somebody will correct me that's using Zoom more often if I'm wrong.
Then let's see. Somebody asked, my friend Ronald Brown asked, do people in a waiting room count towards your 100 limit?
I believe they would. Yeah, I believe they probably would. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Just kind of going back here. Have you ever heard of Jitsi? Jitsi? Somebody was asking, actually, a few people have mentioned it in the chat. So Jitsi, and they're asking what the difference between the two would be.
No, I haven't used Jitsi. Sorry.
All right. For some reason, I'm frozen.
Oh, okay. Harry says that Harry says they use Microsoft Teams for work and it's clunky. Yeah, none of these packages are perfect, but Zoom is certainly it's getting the stress test of all stress tests, and
right.
People, yeah, and you can have some fun too. We just posted a video today about blocking out your background, there it is, blocking out your background and replacing it with different people. Put the Starship Enterprise back there, or the Aurora Borealis, or those sorts of things. So I'm just checking here comments to make sure that it's what question are. So it's interesting that most people use Zoom. I had some other notes. Just let me check my notes here. And in a few moments, we're going to talk about another aspect of it. Sue Zimmerman is going to be joining us in a few minutes, and we'll be talking about ways that people are using Zoom. Like we're replacing so many of our existing business practices with Zoom. And she's been doing this for a little while, where she's doing her main sales calls for her membership area, and how she uses Zoom. And I'm going to pick her brain a little bit about how she uses the different mechanisms within Zoom to create that one-on-one connection that we are going to be missing for the foreseeable future. Shortage. Oh, here's an interesting one. The video that we posted earlier this week talks about using your existing technology for doing Zoom calls. And I am increasingly recommending people use their phone or their tablet for Zoom, especially if they've got just a notebook computer and the webcam that's built into the notebook computer and the microphone that's built into the notebook computer, which frankly suck. If you've got a notebook computer, the chances are that you're using the webcam and the microphone in it, the audio and video quality is not great. But we get a lot better video and audio quality out of our smartphones and out of our tablets. We just lost April for a minute. And you can, and the Zoom app on the smartphone and the tablets is really good. It's really robust and it works really well. There's April back. I'll bring her back in here. So the Zoom app on these applications works really nicely. I recommend people consider using that. And one of the reasons that that's come up is people want to up their video conferencing game, so they're trying to buy webcams, but there's a shortage of webcams. There's been a run on webcams, and you can't get, like, you go on Amazon right now and you try and buy the webcam that I use, which is the Logitech Brio, and it's not even, it's normally $200 and some odd dollars. The only sellers that are selling it on Amazon are asking some $400 and some odd dollars. They're gouging the marketplace like crazy for it right now because there's been a run on webcams. It's just, it's insane.
Well, and I feel like every time we're doing a stream, somebody's always asking, that question comes up more and more, actually. And we got a bunch of emails today where I was sharing your toolkit because people were asking about video equipment and audio and all of that good stuff. Somebody's asking, how do laptops compare to your phone? So I'm not sure.
So it's going to depend on the vintage of laptop you have. If you've got an older MacBook or an older, Lenovo tablet or those sorts of things, the webcams were pretty poor quality, and the microphones specifically were very poor quality. The newest notebooks are built a little bit more with video conferencing in mind, or they kind of upgraded. But typically speaking, they still aren't going to be as good. The camera that you have, if you've got an iPhone, a relatively modern iPhone or an iPad, the front-facing, the FaceTime camera is pretty darn good. It's a pretty good camera. And we know that the microphone setup is far better, especially if you plug your headset in, that your audio quality is going to be vastly superior as well. So the only thing to do is to test it out and to play with it and see if you're comfortable. Here's what you lose when you use a smartphone or a tablet to connect with Zoom is it becomes far more cumbersome using some of the additional tools like chat. Or if you want to share a whiteboard or a screen, it's harder to do screen sharing because you actually can't do screen sharing, but you can do file sharing. So you could, say, give a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, you could feed that into the window. So you can do those sorts of things. So as a presenter, it's a little bit more limiting. And you can't see everybody on screen if you're managing all of your users, if you're in the interface where you're turning on and off and muting people and that sort of stuff. And you can only see the chat window. It'll take up your whole phone screen. And on the tablet, it takes up most of the screen as well. So you're a little more limited in screen real estate. But on the tablet, you have a huge bonus if you've got like the tablet that I do, which is the iPad Pro, which has the Apple Pen, where you can screen share your whiteboard, and then you have a full tablet that you can draw on. So if you're a teacher showing equations, or if you're the sort of person that likes to doodle as they talk and illustrate their points by drawing and sketching it out, you've got the ability to do that using the iPad as a pen-based interface, which is pretty darn exciting, and it works really, really well.
Well, it's funny. It's interesting that about smartphones in general, and like when we're talking about camera quality, somebody just sent me a video that we took, I don't know, 3 years ago, and the quality, even on an older iPhone now or an older Samsung, is 20 times better, right? We're spoiled with all this technology of being this very clear, crisp, feeling like you're right there.
And the other thing is, I mean, overall, I have been really impressed with how the internet service providers are rejigging and rescaling and keeping bandwidth.
Amazing.
Have you noticed? I mean, even last night, I think we watched Netflix, and I don't think the quality dropped down in the entire feed of whatever we were watching. I can't remember what we were watching. My brain is. It's the distortion filter still happening.
The only place that I struggled was I'm taking an online class, and the bandwidth there has been a little bit of a struggle. Like I've had to log out, log back in to try to submit some homework, and that's really where I've felt it the most, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, the odd website has been slow. YouTube has been slow sometimes in the like uploading a video has taken longer, and compressing it has taken a little bit longer. But when you think about how much more traffic is happening on all of these platforms, the internet has been passing with pretty much flying colors, and certainly Zoom has. We've been passing with flying colors as far as dealing with the additional bandwidth. Even on Wednesday, we had Webinar Wednesday, and last week we did have quite a few issues bandwidth-wise, but this week we didn't have as many. We didn't have as many. It was kind of catching up from that perspective as well.
Somebody was asking if you should use earbuds
yes.
for audio.
Yeah. So here's the thing about it. Here's just kind of a good practical recommendation. You know how what's a good example of what we've learned? You know how we've learned in chat not to type in all caps, because it seems like we're yelling.
Sounds like you're shouting.
That's
like you're shouting at me.
And some people still haven't really learned. We're going to have to learn the same rules of etiquette around video conferencing as we move on. And we were starting to get it, actually. We were starting to get these rules back when we were using Blab, back not too long ago when we were using Blab, and where people would always understood the value of headphones. So here's the kind of the audio, a snapshot of the audio situation using video conferencing. Is wherever possible, I recommend that you always enter a room muted and you keep your microphone muted at all times. Because if you're in a room with 4 or 5 people or 15 or 20 people, any extraneous noise, Zoom is designed to promote whatever it seems to be the active speaker to the foreground. So it will suppress other noise or other people speaking even to the one that's the loudest or the one that it thinks is the active speaker. So it's got all of this compression tech, all of this technology built in to help do that. So if your dog starts barking, even if somebody else is in the middle of the presentation, there's a good chance that your video and your dog barking will suddenly become the dominant thing on the screen. So of course you can avoid that by muting your microphone. But then how do you engage in a conversation? You engage in the conversation by hitting the space bar. Almost all of these video conferencing tools have a push to talk feature. So if you want to talk, you just press down the microphone and then you talk. In that case there, you probably don't need headphones, although you will get slightly better audio quality out of the microphone with the headphones. So that gives you the ability to do it without getting sweaty ears or being uncomfortable with the microphone if you want. I would still prefer you did use the headset, but that's a good workaround, and it's just good etiquette to be muted, and then hit the space bar when you want to speak. That's number one. Number two, because of this compression technology that Zoom especially has built in, it's optimized for dialogue. It's optimized for speaking. So people like musicians are having trouble if they're like trying to do a voice lesson and they're playing the piano. And Zoom is trying to emphasize the spoken word, looking for the spoken word. So it's looking for the human voice, and it's trying to suppress some of the other sound that's coming out, and it ends up being not a very good audio experience. You can go into your Zoom settings in the advanced audio settings, and you can turn on original sound, which means that Zoom will then broadcast what it hears from the microphone, and it won't try to process that to make it more appealing for the spoken word and for the dialogue that we're having. So those are a couple of tips that you can do that will improve the quality of your Zoom audio calls.
So somebody was asking, just basically confirming, the person running the Zoom conference can have everyone auto muted when entering the conference by default. Yeah, that's part of the setup.
And that's going to be good practices. So let's talk. Let's bring on a guest. Sue, give me a thumbs up if you're ready to come in, and I'll bring you into the room. Are you ready? You all good? There she is. Okay. There's Sue. Oh no, this is awful. This is awful. Sorry, I'm going to play around with our formatting because I know what I got to do. I got to turn off the key. How are you doing?
Sue. I'm good. Can you guys hear me?
I can, but let me just adjust. See if
okay.
I love your hat and the spring colors.
I thought, why not? I've got quite the collection of hats, as Steve knows, and I had one to match the Easter egg top, spring. It's pouring here on the Cape, but dang it, I'm going to feel like spring.
Yes, good idea.
I am just going to turn off the overlay here. There. Okay. Sorry, I'm still getting used to it. So we're using StreamYard for this. Have you ever used it before, Sue?
I haven't, and thank you. I always love learning new tools and technology. Why do you like this more than Ecamm? Curious.
Oh, so I like Ecamm better. So Ecamm Live is the live streaming tool that we typically use for all of our live streams, but Ecamm doesn't. Right now, we're streaming to multiple platforms. We're streaming to YouTube Live and to Facebook Live, so we have people from both platforms in with us right now. And the issue is, you can stream to multiple platforms from Ecamm Live using a tool like Restream, but they won't allow us to schedule that tool, that call. so that we can make it a destination view as opposed to just kind of ad hoc. So if you're just launching, if you were just going to launch and we weren't going to announce it and have it promoted in both Facebook and YouTube, then we would have been okay in Ecamm. Now they're adding that functionality to Ecamm, but they don't have it as of yet. Whereas StreamYard has that functionality built in, and it's kind of nice. It's simpler. I mean, it doesn't do nearly as much as Ecamm as far as rolling in B-roll and adding graphics and adding different stuff like that. But it's a very simple to use tool, and it's in an Ecamm we've got a bit of a technical setup where we'd have to bring you on by Skype and then conference you in and all sorts of things.
Oh, definitely. I think that the entry in was really smooth, and I can see the live comments. I was on my phone watching as well, and yeah, I like it. And I love seeing April, and she sounds great on her audio over there.
Well, April's been upping her game. In the whole thing, she's got the office set up. She's got it all happening. She's got a Yeti mic, and she's been blow drying her hair every day just so.
Well, gee, thanks. It's because I want to hang out with the cool kids. I have to keep up with you, Mr. Dotto and Miss Zimmerman.
Yeah, well, April and I go way back. But while April tells that story real quickly, can we problem solve together? So when I put my Yeti mic into the computer and I tapped in the gear on this, I was not hearing you through my microphone that I plugged into the computer. Dotto hears this from me all the time. It's always the audio with Subi. What do I need to do?
So there's a difference between audio input and audio output.
Yes,
so if you look into your settings, you have to look at where your output is happening, and then you have to have your headset plugged into whatever that output source is. Now you just muted yourself. So you just muted yourself.
Okay, I'm in the gear, you guys. Let's just do this real time for everybody. I'm in the gear and I see the camera and I see the audio. I'm tapping on audio, and the default external is the computer, correct?
Probably. Whatever your default is.
And then the speaker should be the Yeti, correct?
Not necessarily.
Oh my goodness. Why am I so confused?
The input is the Yeti. Right now you're speaking on the Yeti.
Well, no, the Yeti's not plugged in.
It's not plugged in.
No, because
why are we even talking about this?
Because I want to make the audio as good as possible for your viewers.
So plug the Yeti in.
Okay, it's in. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it hasn't changed yet because the setting. Now you have to go change your input.
Does that sound great?
No, it's the same. It's the exact same. It hasn't changed at all.
Hold on, you guys. We're gonna figure this out.
Oh, there it is. I could hear the difference.
There you go. Okay, we're gonna go back to what it was.
Okay, tap on the microphone.
All right.
Let me hear.
You guys are really good at keeping Instagram marketing, the whole audio thing.
Now you got to move the Yeti closer.
Dotto helps me all the time.
Now you've got to move the Yeti closer to you because are you on the Yeti?
Can you hear me?
Using? Yes.
No, I don't hear.
Yes.
What did I do?
Can't hear us now.
Hold on. I must have hit some adjust. All right, let's do this.
I hear you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I screwed up the whole thing now. Sorry, guys.
Can you hear us?
Keeping it real.
Okay.
All right, I'm in the show.
Quit laughing at us, Barry.
Tap on the Yeti.
All right.
Right now.
You have to talk into.
Barry,
can you hear us now?
I know that. Can you guys hear me? Thumbs up if you can hear me, Dotto and April. You can hear me? Okay, cool. I can't hear you. So there's that.
Okay.
Let's get this going. Okay. I'm going to start again.
You can't hear us. Okay. So I'm going to send you it back to I'm going to send you her back out of the room. And if you can figure it out, come back in and let me know. But in the meantime, we will. Harry didn't like that. Poor Harry was thinking this is not the time for tutoring. And then he says goodbye. Well, goodbye, Harry. That's too bad.
Yeah.
That's the joy of live streaming. That is the joy of live streaming. So
I think what she's coming back in the video, when we're talking about video streaming, I think, and everybody who, like I said earlier, 85% of everyone is using it. It really has made a huge difference in connecting with people and that human connection, even though we're not, we're not one-on-one close, but at least we're seeing people and there is that social interaction while we're socially isolating. It's made a huge difference for so many people that didn't use technology before. And, it's incredible. It's incredible.
And we take that for granted because you
Yeah.
are there in Connecticut and I'm here in Vancouver.
Oh,
And
you know that I'm in Connecticut. That's like a first. Usually it's New Hampshire.
it's confusing. They're all, oh, good. Sue can hear us now, so we can bring Sue back in. But we've been using this, and so we've always felt that we're in each other's pocket all the time because we just jump on Zoom calls maybe 6, 7, 8 times a day, talking back and forth. But for so many other people, this is brand new. In establishing the intimacy and the routine of just how this is similar to just being sitting down having a coffee and being in the same room. I think that's still a growth path for people. So Sue, are you all working now?
I'm good. Everyone in the chat's just having a good old time with it.
They are having a good old time, all except Harry. Harry was a little pissed.
Sorry, Harry. Harry, I love you. I know. Okay, we won't talk about hats and mics anymore. Let's get to the content. Let's go.
Well, the only thing that I want to just kind of wrapping up before you guys get started is that I was watching a talk show and they were talking with a psychologist and they were saying about social isolation and how are people really how is that going to affect people? And clearly mental health is an issue for people, right? Being home. And they felt, and the psychologist that was on was saying that because of this video conferencing technology and that it's open to many people and where Zoom is free and, has the free subscription to it, that it's going to make a world of difference in keeping people connected overall. So it was just interesting because, from a psychological perspective, that it really is making a vast difference for many, many people.
And all of these people developing skills. Like I have to admit, I was a little taken aback by the number of people who were watching our videos on Zoom and saying that it was their first exposure to Zoom, because in our insulated world, we all just use this technology all the time. And I'm thinking, what's wrong with the rest of the world? How can they not know how to do this stuff? But they don't, and they haven't. But now they're discovering it, and they're overcoming their fears, their limitations, their self-limiting beliefs, their prejudices against this as a technology because we're being forced to use it. And I think the net result is going to be, when we come out on the other side of this epidemic, is that more people are going to say, no, I can be just as productive from home. I'm not doing that commute anymore, or I'm only going to do that commute one day a week. We are going to see a profound shift in a lot of our work and communication habits as a result of this, because we're going to discover ways that it works as well for us. That's the beauty of the human condition. We're such good communicators that we take whatever tools are at our fingertips and we learn to communicate with those tools. And then we start to appreciate them. And it's when it's different that it's a problem, not that it's better or worse.
Yes.
Right.
You'll save a lot of money on gas in the meantime.
Oh,
of course, it's so cheap now, though. When you need it to be cheap,
I know.
Mindset,
baby. Let's talk about it. Let's get this show started.
Okay, so you've been using Zoom for a little while, and now you guys use it. So just so everybody knows, Sue is the Instagram expert. She has she teaches businesses and individuals how to use Instagram in order to do their marketing and to promote their product and to build their brands. And a part of that is you've got a couple of courses. Now you've got an introductory course, but you also have this advanced program, which is like a big deal. It's people have to apply to get in.
Yeah.
But and you do one-on-one calls with the potential customers, which in the internet marketing world isn't a very scalable approach. Having to talk, take a half hour of your day to talk to each potential customer. But so talk to me about the philosophy behind that, and then how Zoom facilitates and how you use the different mechanisms in it.
Yeah, so my team of 11 and I have been using Zoom for years now, so this is not new to us at all. And this program that Steve is referring to is called Ready, Set, Grant Pro. It is a much more intimate opportunity to work with me and my team over the course of 90 days to learn how to use Instagram marketing to make money and to become known as the go-to authority. And Steve has actually helped our community recently, teaching them a little bit more about Zoom technology, because everyone in my program really wants to put their business online. I've been teaching online marketing for the past 8 years almost, and speaking on stages all over the world alongside with Steve. With that being said, over the years of coaching and trying to scale our coaching business, which, as Steve mentioned, one-to-one is so difficult, we decided to revamp our whole program. And we have been doing this almost a year now, using Zoom as the place to facilitate discovery calls. And so when I say to facilitate discovery calls, we have a process that people have to apply, because we're at the stage of our business where we want to like all of our clients that we're working with for 90 days. And we want to make sure that they're a good fit in all different ways. So there's an application that takes, a good 10, 15 minutes to fill out. And we're able to look at that application and really assess whether or not my team is going to put them on a discovery call in a Zoom room with me for 30 minutes, because 30 minutes of my time is extremely valuable and I don't want to waste it like you guys don't want to waste your time. So that's just to give everybody a little context around the Zoom piece of it. Steve, do you want me to keep going?
Yeah. So talk to me about what happens when they get on a call and how Zoom makes it worthwhile. Because, at the end of the day, if you're not getting the engagement.
Absolutely. So I will not take a discovery call with anyone unless I am looking at them in the face. I believe and have always believed that the connection of a real relationship, as Steve holds dear to his community as well, is so important. And so video has always been the tool for me since day one, back in our Periscope/Blab days. And I'm very comfortable talking to camera, and I want to see people's body language. I want to understand if they're really in the game to do the work and show up consistently to get the results, because there is no quick fix to making money online or having success in your business other than doing the real work. And so we've been doing the real work for a long time, right, Vidoe?
Yeah.
And with that being said, when I get in a Zoom room, I'm able to really get a sense of their energy and their mindset around doing the work and showing up and being excited about this opportunity. And I can tell 3 to 5 minutes into the call in the Zoom room whether or not they are going to convert into purchasing our online coaching program, which is thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And so my conversion rate is pretty high, and I'm quite the closer, because I believe I've already qualified them as someone I want to work with and someone I know that I can help. So as a marketer, it's so important for you to confidently position your offer, knowing what their pain points are and able to have them picture what's possible for their business. And so people want different wins. Wins aren't always necessarily to make more money. I mean, the end game is to make more money for everyone. But in order to make more money, you have to show up as the go-to authority and have a community like this and have the trust built, which we clearly have in my business. And so, to be honest with all of you, and this is not at all to brag by any means, it's just to understand and hit home with this video process. Last week, we closed 9 out of my 10 sales using Zoom, and every person was ready to spend money, and I could tell they were ready to do the work. And so we had a banner week during all of this craziness, and I think it's worth noting it comes with, we've already done the work prior to the face-to-face time in the Zoom room.
So, the model that I hear when you're talking about this is the model of the trust funnel. A friend of ours, Brian G. Johnson, wrote a book on the trust funnel, and it's it's a different way of looking at kind of funnel marketing, but how you engender trust with your community. And if you think about the mechanisms that you go through in a call, I want to walk through them and to break them down. So it begins with, in a Zoom call, it's going to begin with being able to see the person and hear the person. So we've got the physical cues, where you see people leaning in, you see them averting their eyes, and you hear the voice. So as communicators, that's a fast track to intimacy, to understanding each other, by the fact that I can see what you're doing, I can see you nodding your head in agreement, or I can see you leaning back. We get all of those cues. That's step one, essential. It's so hard to do through texting or through writing emails. Face to face, brilliant. But then you go through a process where you bring them into your space a little bit more, where you start screen sharing with them. And what you didn't talk about is in the sales process, because they're spending all this money, you actually take them inside the member area and you guide them through. It's like a realtor walking you through the house and saying, look at this room here. This is where you could set up your, this is where you could have your reading room. And over here's the kid's bedroom. And you see how far it's distant from your bedroom. You take them into that as a screen share using the technology in Zoom. And I think that is one of the real keys, is because they then start to imagine that they're part of that community.
Yes. So let's back it up 2 steps, Steve. So for a lot of people, entering into the Zoom room is new and different, and they've never been in a Zoom call. So I want to say to them, okay, I can hear that you're here with me, but now we need to turn on your mic and we need to turn on your video. And they're like, I don't know how to do that. And so I calmly say, don't worry, I'm going to teach you. Turn on the mic.
Which everybody that was here earlier in the call recognizes is just irony at the extreme.
It is.
Okay. Okay. So turning on the mic and turning on the video. And so once they have had that win, they're a little bit more relaxed. And just like, you and you guys are both, April, are sipping on water while we're talking or drinking, that's casual behavior. And that's what you would do if you were sitting across from someone in an actual room. So my goal is to always make someone feel like they're right next to me. Literally, sometimes they're in Australia or Panama or the UK. I have a global audience and I coach a global audience, but it's just like you want them to feel like they're with you. And so with that comes not being perfect and having your makeup on and your hair all done. It's just being you. And like Steve said, I actually qualify them and say, what are the 3 biggest challenges you're having in your business right now or in your personal life? And I listen really intently, and I'm able to take that information and use that during the sales process, saying, okay, you told me that you wanted this and you needed that and that this was a problem. Well, guess what? These are the solutions and the way that we do it. So now once I've listened to their problems, and I also, Steve didn't mention this, but I also say, are you the person capable of making a financial decision, or do you need to ask your husband, wife, partner? Because if you're not the person that's going to say, yes, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I want to bring them in the room too. I don't want to waste time for you to say, I need to go ask my wife. I need to go ask my partner. So I'm like all business, all boss lady over here. And with that just comes the success. I mean, if I'm going to spend 30 minutes, I want to make sure that I've already prefaced what Steve said about sharing the screen. So now that I know what they need, and now that they've told me, oh yeah, I make my own financial decisions. Who wouldn't? I'm like, cool, you're my kind of person. Then I say, are you ready for me to show you the 2 parts of this program? One is the coaching and one is the education. And I say, I'm going to share my screen, and this is what I do to share my screen. And I share my screen. I show them our Slack channel. I show them how my team and I coach them. I show them other students having success, their wins, because we have a wins channel. And I show them what's possible. And they can see how many students we're coaching. They can see real comments. I'm not making anything up. It's proof by showing. And then at the end of showing the whole Slack channel, a lot of people don't even know how to use Slack. So I got to explain that a little bit. Then I say, are you ready to see the membership site? So the membership site has 2 components. One is our Ready Set Graham signature course that anyone can buy at any time. And the other is our Ready Set Graham Pro that you can only buy when you invest in this program. I always use the term, Steve, invest. I never say this is expensive. I never say the word it costs a lot. I always say, are you ready to see how much the investment is? It's all about language and selling. And so when they say yes, after I've showed them the membership and I showed them all the tabs and where they can go and the lessons and what it looks like and the worksheets and the downloads and the transcripts and all the supporting content that we have in our course that literally is everything you could possibly need and then some, I then say to them, okay, are you ready to share your screen now? I'm going to drop a link in chat. And I say, here's where the chat is. And I say, hi, And they're like, yeah, I see it. I'm like, when I drop the link, you're going to share your screen tapping on the registration. And I'm going to walk you through what you need to do first. Are you ready?
So then you take them and you walk them right through the purchase process, right?
I do. I say there's several options that you can do. You can pay in full and save this much money, or you can do the payments. And I literally say, which one's better for you? And as soon as they say, oh, I want to pay in full and save $500, I'm like, great, press that button. Or if they say, I need to make payments, great, press that button. Now let's go to the top, and I'm going to walk you through everything that you need to fill out. And then we're going to submit it. And when you submit it and press the submit button, then my calendar pops up for you to book your onboarding call. And I do not get off the call until the next step is on their calendar. I think a lot of people that are selling high ticket prices, especially coaches, people back out a day or two later because they're like, what the hell did I just do? That's so much money. Versus now I have the next step. I'm going to do an onboarding call with Sue's team, and I'm ready to go. So I just know from experience of doing this a long time that this works extremely well. And my conversion rate, and I hate the word conversion, but it's the word, is very, very successful. And Steve and I share a lot about our businesses to each other. He's my accountability partner. I'm his. And so none of this is new to him. But if anyone has any questions, Steve, I'm not even looking at the chat. I'm looking at the camera.
That's okay.
Well, you know what? I just want to, can I just say, I love the fact how you early on said it's about the body language, right? And so, and how you ease them into sharing their screen and sharing the video, because I think it really does. People are so intimidated to get on camera, right? And it really, it makes a difference. The intimacy of having a conversation where you're, even though people are still working at looking at the camera, right? Or looking down, you can get a feel for their comfort level, if they're uncomfortable on camera, if they're, and ways to ease them, like looking at somebody's home office, or, you know,
I like that you're saying, I like that you're saying this, April, because so much of what I coach and teach is advanced Instagram marketing strategies, where video is paramount to your success. If you want to have success on Instagram, you have to do IGTV and Instagram stories and show up as a person and not just a post. We need to hear your voice. We need to know that you are walking the talk. And so a lot of women, because I primarily coach women, and yes, I coach men, but mostly women 40 and older, and they're questioning how they look all the time or how they sound all the time. And I'm always trying to comfort them in knowing that there are solutions to those problems. So I love what you just said. And it's true. I try to help people see what's possible by being as real and honest and authentic and comforting, because people want help in their business and they don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. There's so many choices. They can go down 500 rabbit holes and they don't know what to do next. And we are all about step by step, every step of the way for 90 days.
Well, and I think the theme is anyone can use video conferencing, right? So, I mean, it's anyone can use it with just some baby steps.
And I'm going to actually modify that. I think everyone has to start using it. The bottom line is, if we as for so many business purposes, for so many social purposes, we require seeing and hearing each other, and that is just not in the cards for the next months for many of us. There was somebody posted, one of our I can't remember who was, posted that they're doing their play rehearsals. They're still rehearsing plays, but they're rehearsing their plays in Zoom. We are now at the point where we're having to reinvent reinvent some of our communication models. And thankfully, we've got these tools to work with. Could you imagine if this virus had hit 20 years ago? How would we would be doing this by phone? We'd be talking about doing an audio conference and getting conferencing bridges together in order to try and figure out how to do things. Because, you know, things like even conference calls were a little unusual 20 years ago. But now we've got this functionality, and we've got people who have been doing it as long as we've been doing it that can say, yeah, no, this works. We are doing it. And so we've been the trailblazers. This isn't something which is revolutionary just because it hasn't been a part of the mainstream. The people have been going in and working in their cubicles and in their conference rooms. It hasn't been part of their life as much, but we do have the tools in place, and obviously not just the tools in place, but the business practices can be modified to work within these tools.
Absolutely.
One of the comments, somebody said it's an old-fashioned face-to-face sales call. You
It
can
is.
do a sales call, you can do a conference call, meeting. Yeah, it is definitely that.
Yeah, and Steve, all of our pro meetings, our weekly meetings are done in Zoom with up to 50 people as well.
Yeah. Stuart says Zoom has been great for poetry reading group that I've set up, and it's good for seminars. It'd be better still if I could hear reactions or comments rather than serial monologues with isolation. So here's a couple things. First of all, if you set up gallery view, you can see everybody's face that's there, and you will just by the motion of the heads and seeing if people are looking at you, get a sense for the presence of people. Now, it can be also a negative if you see people looking away and distracted. If you start getting those negative vibes, it might mean that the poem that you are reading is not necessarily landing with full force. So you got to be a little bit careful as far as that goes. But also, we as community members in calls are going to slowly start to learn to use the social interaction tools more to support the presenter. For example, in Zoom now, with the upgraded version, there are reactions where you can just do little hand claps and little thumbs up, much like happens in Facebook when you say something that people like, they give you those hearts, and you see the flow of you see the emotional flow of emoticons kind of flowing up. That is Sue does a lot of live streams. That is absolute music to our eyes.
Oh yeah,
and it energizes us and validates whatever we're saying. Just like now, when you see in the chat, I see little happy faces or comments coming in. That energizes us. So as we learn to support the person that's presenting content, it'll be a rising tide. It will improve for us all.
Yeah, definitely. Is there anything else you want to ask me that I could talk about to help your audience? I love that you're live streaming to Facebook and YouTube. This is so great.
Yeah, have you not done that?
Yeah.
No, I do on my YouTube channel. I went live last week, but not at the same time. So
So there's a couple of different options depending on which tool you use. If you live stream out of the native app, you can't. But if you live stream out of one of these apps like Be Live, StreamYard, you can do it. And from the switching apps like OBS or Ecamm, you can also do it by sending your feed to a tool like Restream, which will then take it and distribute it across multiple ones.
Yeah, this is cool. Can I give everyone an Instagram tip?
Sure.
Hey guys, I teach Instagram. I just did a post today, Steve. You're gonna laugh. There's humor in this. That's why I'm asking. So one of the things that people always ask me about is their engagement. They say the algorithm, my engagement's down. What's happening, Sue? And I'm like, don't post and ghost. It's like that easy. So I posted on my feed today. You guys can come on over and let me know that you're here with me on Facebook and YouTube, the Instagram expert, and let me know that you will pinky promise never to post and ghost, because you need to leave at least 15 minutes after you've posted on Instagram to engage with the likers and the comments and to answer those questions and to share that content into your story. And when you do, your engagement goes up and your followers will go up because you're engaging on a comment thread, just like Steve and April have here. There's this conversation. And I always say, no matter what platform you're on, the gold is in the conversation, in the comment thread. So here on YouTube, there are people commenting. On Facebook, there are people commenting. And I can guarantee you that if you wanted to go say hi to people today and be friendly, because everyone wants some friends now, we're so isolated, you can find new followers so simply by just connecting with the people that show up where you're hanging out. And I teach this all the time whenever I go live. Do not spend endless time looking and seeking. Just spend time saying hi to Al and David and Nobby, right here, Stuart, on the call, right?
So the term post and ghost, we had a few questions. That means that you post and then you just leave it till the next time you post.
No, yeah, basically you're like, okay, I got to post on Instagram today. Good, I just did that. Check. And then you move into something else and you're like, you check it off your to-do list, but you haven't done it in its complete, in the best way possible, right, which is the engagement is everything. It's the algorithm, the likes, the comments, the saves, the shares. And if you're not staying around and you're not interacting, don't do it when you have to go to another task right after. Do it when you can actually engage for 10 to 15 minutes. And that's what I got.
I got to tell you, since these few videos have blown up for us on YouTube, I always try and reply to all the comments, or at least read all the comments. Last 4 days, I've been spending over 2 hours a day on YouTube comments, which is too much. It's not scalable, but I think is important as we're in the
Totally.
early. That's exactly what you're talking
Steve,
about.
on my account, I spend at least an hour engaging, and I go back at night because my DMs blow up every day, and I probably get like 100 new followers a day, and some days, and I just want to make sure that they feel welcome and that they're, you know, it's like that, back to what April said, you want people to feel like they're with you in person. And if someone's going to take the time to follow you and comment, you want to acknowledge that. And that is so much of what social media is and always has been for me. And I know for Steve as well.
Yeah. And these aren't broadcasts. You know, I come from a television broadcast world and radio broadcast world. Those are presentations. Those are performances. These are conversations. And recognizing that these are all conversations, you know, and using the technology and facilitating it, having a relationship with your community. That's, I mean, that's it's really all we have right now. We've got to cling to this for the next little while, folks. And
the beauty about this for me and our business has grown a lot during all of this, and I think it's because so many people understand more now than ever that online marketing and connections are really where the gold is. And when this blows over, it will pick up and you will be able to hopefully get together with people, like whether you're at a conference with them and hanging out in person. But it's the only way that it's the only way I've always done it. And Steve and I have had many intimate conversations about us and why we've made it to where we are, because this is the way that we've always led.
Yeah. Al, that means a lot to us. Al says it's like the extended family. We do a great job. I think there is increasingly a responsibility as community leaders that we recognize regular membership here, where people are coming in and we're filling. I hate to say, it sounds boasted, but we're filling a need.
Right.
In our community's lives. That's where that community comes from. That's for sure. So thank you for that. That meant a lot to us to see.
Yeah.
How do we deal with censorship? This is Stop Media Bias Now. I have a Twitter account that gets 0 likes or feedback, as if nobody can see the tweets. Well, none of us are controversial in our content, so we don't necessarily experience that. I guess I think that's a kind of almost a bigger conversation that I'm not equipped to answer, because, as I say, we've never experienced. I've certainly experienced how I post something that I think is fantastic, and for some reason YouTube doesn't think it's so fantastic, so it doesn't get shared. But that really is going to come down to the algorithms themselves and the type of content you're posting, and finding a way to phrase your content so that it's acceptable to them. And the
hashtags that you're using in those tweets as well to target, and exactly, and who you're tagging. So.
So Stuart says that they've just gone digital a couple of days ago. Look up. There's a great documentary of Patrick Kavanaugh that you can watch for free. Okay, good stuff. All right. Well, how are we doing for time? Oh, look at that.
We're past the top of the hour. Thanks so much, Sue. That was great.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
The feedback.
Okay, I'm going to be a little bossy and tell everybody I want to meet you. I want to meet every one of you tuning into Steve Dotto. I love Steve Dotto. I love April, and I want to connect with you. So come on over to Insta and say hi. Let me know what you liked about this. And if you're struggling with your account in any way, send me a DM, and I promise you, I will send you a video response. How's that?
A video response. Yeah, you're good. I'm just going to do a quick screen capture. Everybody smile up, and there we go. There we are. All right. Okay. All right. Good stuff.
You guys have, as always, been wonderful. Thanks for all the great questions today.
Next week, I think we're going to be talking about.
I'm going to go.
Thanks so much. I'll let you out. I'll kick you out. Thank you.
Love you, buddy. Bye, guys.
Take care. Next week, folks. I just was doing some research, and one of the really big impacted places is, of course, houses of worship and other communities that get together for some sort of small performances or to meetings. And there's a lot of this technology that really applies there. And I know that churches and other houses of worship are just scrambling to try and figure out how to serve their congregations and their communities. So we are going to be talking next week about the technology that gets in place for that, and how these different conferencing and streaming solutions and live streaming can work, and some of the hardware that you require, some of the software.
Great idea.
from
Okay.
the basic, simple things where you don't have to spend a lot of money, all the way through to what the more advanced systems look like. So I've got a special guest plan, which I'll keep secret until the right time.
I have an idea of
that's
who it might
gonna
be.
next week. Sorry,
I said I have an idea of who it might be.
you don't know who it is. You have no idea who it is.
I have a feeling.
No, you don't. You don't know, because this
I
came
don't.
out of left field. It came out of left field, but we can bicker later.
Okay.
Oh, Al's asking what Sue's Instagram is. Sue
I
is
put it, yeah, let me
the
put it. I
Instagram
have
expert.
it.
The Instagram expert.
Yeah, so I'll put it here for you guys.
Yeah, that's right. All right. That's it, folks. I am going to, once you get that posted, is it posted?
It's going right now.
Awesome sauce. Stay safe, everybody. And recognize, increasingly, I said to Shan this morning, I think that in a lot of ways, our mental health is at more risk than our physical health right now as we navigate through this. I mean, certainly here in Canada, I know we're doing a really good job of physical distancing. So, hopefully the physical ramifications aren't going to be too dire. We know they're still going to be severe, but we're all of us, 100% of us, are suffering on the mental side of this, some form of grief and sense of loss, and that disruption filter that we're all viewing the world through. We've got to fight that, and we've got to stay on top of that. So stay positive. Reach out to somebody if you're feeling a little bit negative, or you're feeling lost. Use these tools to communicate with each other and support each other, and show a little extra kindness even when you are frustrated. April.
Thank you, guys. Yes.
That's it, guys. We love you all. You take care. Till next time.
Have a great weekend.
Have fun storming a castle.